You don't have the magazine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we're coming to you from my favorite place in the world. Is it my favorite place?
This is my favorite place in the world.
Really my favorite place for self-care. And we are at the Barnes and Noble at the mall. I love books. You all know already that I love books. It's a problem. It's an addiction. I need intervention. I need God. I need someone to come and talk me out of my love for books and my need to keep getting new books and my issue in terms of keeping books and not having the space to hold all these books in my house. Basically, I've run out of shelf space, I've run out of floor space, and now I have it on my dressers. I have books on my dressers now, y'all. And then you know what's worse? Is that I never finish the books because I find new books to buy. I'm whispering because there's a book club that's meeting here at Barnes & Noble. And I was like, why ain't nobody ever told me there was a book club, y'all? That would be motivation for me to read the freaking book so I can meet with people and have discussions about books. Back in the day, a friend of mine, Shannon, and I used to have a book club, and it was just the two of us. And her husband was like, y'all don't have a book club. What you have is a chicks club, like chicks who like to read. We shouldn't call it a book club because a club is more than two people. But at least when I was reading books with her, it would always be, we would read them and then meet once a month and talk about them. But I digress. The reason you see this motif on the Hope Hub with the clouds, and do you see the little ship that's sailing? Look at that. I saw that filter and I was like, but God, this is gonna be my new thing on the Hope Hub. Is when I come live, you'll see the clouds, the birds, and the ship. Do you see the ship?
Yes.
There's a ship sailing, a sailing on that motif. It's gorgeous. Okay, so Shiko, go ahead.
Oh, hi.
No, you gotta come closer because they can't hear you. Okay. Go ahead. Come closer.
Hi. And yeah, I'm squishing my mom. So.
Okay.
Okay.
So what's the news?
Okay.
What was yesterday?
Yesterday was National Lighthouse Day, and my mom missed it. So
like seriously,
tragedy.
No one out of the almost 3,000 people on the Hope Hub that follow me, I talk about lighthouses incessantly. I say poems about lighthouses. I talk about metaphorically. I talk about it practically, theoretically. Lighthouses. I know y'all are tired about lighthouses and beacons of hope. No one thunk to tell me that yesterday was National Lighthouse Day. Like, seriously? We could have had a party, y'all. We could have had a party. All right, so proof. I don't know if they can see it, but where is it, Chico?
It's somewhere. You're covering
It's the 7th, is it? The 7th. There, you see the lighthouse? The 7th of August was National Lighthouse Day. Yo. And then Tomorrow, drum roll. Tomorrow. Boom, 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 boom. What was the day?
National Book Lovers Day.
National Book Lovers Day. So we're actually on August. Today's when? August.
Wednesday.
Yeah. So today is happy. What is it? Happy 20th birthday. Today is Shawn Mendes' day. I don't know who Shawn Mendes is.
I know who he is. I just don't like his music. I'm just being honest. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
It's good. It's just not my type.
Yeah.
Kind of music.
So anyway, we're at Barnes and Noble, my favorite place to be, self-care place to be. And I wanted to share with you guys who happened to be here since I wasn't here on Winning Wednesday. You saw that, right? You saw that. I actually tricked y'all and I shared a video from a throwback video from a couple months back about Winning Wednesday. But anyway, needless to say, I went to the paperback area and there are a lot of really wonderful new books. And I had told myself coming into the Barnes & Noble, you ain't gonna buy no book. Don't even think about it. Don't even try it. You're just gonna look and browse. and just look at the books and walk the heck out of the store.
I don't believe you.
And that was my goal. But yo, let me show you the first book that caught my attention. And unfortunately, because of the camera, you won't be able to really see it. But that's the book.
Hope Never Dies.
Never Dies. But look who's on the cover. Y'all see that?
Who is it?
You don't see that? Barack Obama and Joe Biden.
Oh.
It's a book, and it's called Hope Never Dies, an Obama-Biden Mystery. It's all fiction. So I was like, it can't be that good. It really can't be that good. But guess what? It's set in freaking Delaware. And so all the places they're talking about in the book are in my state. They're talking about the mall. They're talking about the train station, the Amtrak train station that I've been in. And it's a funny book. So I was browsing through it. But let me read the back for y'all in case you guys are interested. It says, America needs a hero. We've got 2 of them. It's been several months since the 2016 presidential election, and Uncle Joe Biden, is puttering around his house, grouting the tile in his master bathroom, feeling lost and adrift in an America that doesn't make sense anymore. But when his favorite Amtrak conductor dies in a suspicious accident, Joe feels a familiar desire to serve. That familiar desire to serve. And he leaps into the role of amateur sleuth or detective. And with a little help from his old friend President Barack Obama, codenamed Renegade, together they'll plumb into the darkest depths of Delaware, darkest depths of Delaware, traveling from cheap motels to biker bars. Okay, I know the cheap motels, but I don't know the biker bars. Don't ask me how I know all the cheap motels. I know them. Relax Inn, Classic Inn. I know all the cheap motels. All the CD cheap motels. I know them. Into biker bars and beyond as they uncover the sinister forces advancing America's opioid crisis epidemic. So this is a thriller called Hope Never Dies. And it imagines life after the Oval Office for 2 of America's greatest heroes. And together they'll prove that justice has no term limits. What I love is the first chapter talks about how they come together. And I'll read just a snippet. It says that Uncle Joe, offers a handshake to Barack, and then Barack goes fist bump. And then and then Joe is like, I could never master that fist bump. And then Barack smirks and he says, just like old times. And then Joe Biden tells Barack Obama, thought you quit smoking. And then Barack Obama takes a long drag on his cigarette, and then he says, I did. So anyway, it sounds like a really great book. The author says this book is for Uncle Joe. And in terms of acknowledgments, he says he thanks Obama. So, am I gonna get this book? Nah. Let's just say that. Nah. The other book that caught my interest was Slightly Bad Girls. I'm sorry, this is not that great. But, not Slightly Bad Girls of the Bible. Sorry, I didn't finish the title. So apparently, this woman who's written this book had written another one that was just Bad Girls of the Bible. So I need to read that because I know Jezebel is in there, right? I don't know what other bad girls are in there, but I'm sure Jezzy, she got to be in this book. But this one is the slightly bad girls. Like girls that we thought were good girls, but they're really flawed. So it says that basically the book talks about Sarah, who she was a good wife and all of that, but she mistreated her maidservant Hagar. And she also despised her mistress, right? So Hagar is the other woman. The other woman they talk about is Rebecca, who manipulated her son. And then Leah, who claimed her sister's hand, and Rachel, who envied her fertile sister. So even though they were flawed, I guess this book is talking about whether even though they were really flawed, they were flawed. Remember Sarah laughed, ha 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 ha. And then the stuff that she was saying, like, in my old age, will I have pleasure? And my husband's, I don't know what she said, but something like, he's finished. He's like dust. So all those things that she said, which were not the best thing that a wife can say, she was flawed in her own way. But even with their flaws, they say that they were chosen to bear the seed of Abraham and demonstrate God's faithfulness from generation to generation. Am I getting this book? Nah. Why? Not that there's anything wrong with this book. It's just that I don't know whether it's my old age, but whenever I look at books that have a lot of small writing and words, I don't pick them up. I think I'm going to start shopping in that area where the books have the big words and they're like magnifying glass, like for seniors. I don't know, like nowadays, and maybe it's the whole phone scroll and all that stuff messes with your eyes and technology. But I usually, when I see a book that has very small print, I put it down. It may be the greatest book. I don't know. If you guys have read it, tell me about it. Either way, it looked like a good book. Let's see what else I picked up. I picked up none of those two I'm not getting. I'm passing the test so far. Your second life begins when you realize you only have one. All right. So I have this idea that one day I will live in France, and I will walk by the Eiffel Tower every day, and I will eat croissants and drink tea and eat beignets. So anyway, this book is about a French woman. It's a number 1 French bestseller. I guess it was written in French, and now they've translated it to English. And it's about a 38 and a quarter year old Paris native Camille who has everything she needs to be happy, or so it seems. A good job, a loving husband, a wonderful son, but she's not happy. She feels like happiness has slipped through her fingers, and all she wants is to find the path to joy. And then she sees a coach, and that coach helps her escape and create wonderful experiences and meaning to transform her life one step at a time. So it's the first time in English. It's a feel-good, witty story, universal story of one's woman's journey from boredom and dissatisfaction to happiness and true fulfillment. Only me, I would want to read this book. Am I gonna buy it? Oh, Jesus. Oh. It's hard. I'm all about romantic books. Romance. So this would be a good, even it doesn't actually talk about romance though. It's about being in France, and Paris is a city of love. And so I just feel like if I read it, it'll put me in that mood. Okay. So the other thing that I picked up was this book. Can't read it. It's by Sarah Knight, and it's called Get Your Shit Together Journal. Because there's a lot of shit that I need to get together. And so when I saw it, I was like, man, Get Your Shit Together Journal. That's exactly what I need, y'all. I need something that will help me get my shit together. So, it'll help me give myself time and space to do the shit that needs to get done. And then let me show you what was my one thing that I really loved. Anyway, it has like a section that says you can list all the shit you have to do. Okay? All the shit you have to do. All the shit you must do today. All the shit you have to do in order of urgency. And it has pages and pages where you can just list all the shit you have to do, all the shit that is urgent, all the shit you must do today. Brilliant! And then she talks about 10 things that, this was what I thought was funny, there's a section where she says 10 things I've done that were not on my to-do list in order to procrastinate doing things that were. Number 1 she has is cut my cuticles. Guilty. Secondly, research or Google various skin conditions. Guilty, right? Or natural hairstyles on YouTube. That's my thing. Watch Ocean's 11 for the 5th time. It's not Ocean's 11 for me, it's Twilight. Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn Part 2. Watched them at least four, well, maybe I'm on the 4th.
That's too many movies.
I don't know. It's the whole series like 4 or 5 times. That's what I do when I need to procrastinate. Engaged in fruitless political debate on Facebook. That ain't my thing. Folded someone else's laundry. I don't procrastinate doing that. I don't know who does. Conducted, color-coded my chapstick collection. I don't have that many chapstick collections or whatever. Tried and failed to memorize the lyrics to Nothing But a G Thing. Ain't nothing but a... What is that song? Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. I don't know the lyrics. And then contemplated the divinity of Helen Mirren.
Who?
Helen Mirren, she's an actress. I don't know. Anyway, Kegels was the last one. I ain't gonna tell you what Kegels are. All right, so I'm not getting that journal either. Last but not least, y'all think I'm tripping every time I talk about I'm seeing signs. This is new on paperback. Max Lucado. Is it Lucado or Lusado? Max Lucado. This book, I know y'all can see this. It's a lighthouse. Unshakable Hope. He stole my title, y'all. He stole my title. That was my book idea. Unshakable Hope. With a lighthouse and the light streaming to the ocean. That's the book. This book is the one I'm having a really hard time leaving, even though I have like 3 or 4 books at home that I haven't read yet. This book, God's Words of Wisdom, was today, so I have to get the wisdom from this book and tell y'all before we log on and leave, hopefully with no books. But this is amazing. It says, basically what Max Lucado is talking about, he's saying, get to know the God who keeps his promises and discover the amazing plans and promises he has just for you. What would you do tomorrow if you had no fear? How would you live your life if you knew that the promises in the Bible are for you? In Unshakable Hope Promise Book, Pastor Max Lucado shows you how God has kept his promises in the lives of his people for all of history and what those promises mean for your life. He uses examples of Bible characters and explores and understands the ways God has kept his promises. Anyway, so this whole book is just about, every chapter is a promise that God has made to each and every one of you. So like, for example, but even before I go there, in terms of notes from the author, I did not know this. He says that because of God's promises, Noah believed in rain before a single drop had ever fallen on earth. So he's talking about the reason why it's so important for us to believe in God's promises. He says, if you believe in God's promises, you're in good company, because you're in the same company as the people, the old of the Bible, the people in the Bible, the characters in the Bible, the heroes of all ages, who came from all cultures, who were rich and very poor. They had something all in common in the Bible, is that they believed in the promises of God. Whatever he said to them, they believed that he would do it. So because of God's promises, Noah believed in rain before a single drop had ever fallen on earth. Because of God's promises, Abraham, left a good home and went in search of the promised land. Because of God's promises, Joshua led 2 million people into the promised land. Because of God's promises, David was able to defeat the giant Goliath. Peter rebounded from regret, and Paul found a grace worth dying. So I love that Max Lucado says God's promises are guiding truths in the Bible, right? And he said that there is one student of the Bible who spent a year and a half basically going through the Bible and attempting to count the number of promises that God made to humanity. He came up with 7,487 promises! Exclamation mark. Can you imagine how many promises those are in the Bible? If God has made us that many promises, why do we fear? Why do we not believe? Why do we not look at this book that is the Bible, which is actually 66 books? You know, so I'm talking to myself in terms of, if I need to read a book, I need to read the Bible, because I haven't even finished that one. It's sitting on my shelf for years and I haven't finished the 66 books. So I have no excuse to be here at Barnes & Noble buying books if I already have 66 books in one, right? So anyway, he says that not only is God a promise maker, God is a promise keeper. And from Genesis 1, the Bible makes the case that we can depend on God. 9 times the text repeats, God said, and without exception, when God spoke in Genesis, where he said, let there be light, let there be creatures of the sea, let there be the sky, let's divide this, let's make man in our own image. All these things, without exception, when he spoke it, it came to pass. So faith is the deeply held belief that God will keep his promises and God will not break his promises. And then he says, and this is what I'll say lastly about this book, which I thought was really awesome for us to keep for God's words of wisdom, is that God, number one, is unchanging. Unchanging. He sees the end from the beginning. He's never caught off guard or surprised by anything that happens to us in our lives. He makes no course corrections because he knows exactly where you're headed, right? He's not swayed up and down by the storms of the ocean or the challenges in your life. He knows he has a plan for you, and it's for good and not for evil. He knows that you have an expected end, a future, and a hope, okay? So he never changes. That's James 1:17. God is faithful. God can be trusted to keep his promises. That's Hebrews 10:23. He is so faithful, y'all. God is strong, right? And mighty. He does not overpromise anything and underdeliver. God is able to do exactly what he said he would do. Read Romans 4:21. Last but not least, God, why? Take your book. God cannot lie. God cannot lie. It is impossible, okay, for God, it is impossible for God to lie. Hebrews 6:18 says, I don't know, I think he's exaggerating here. Hebrews 16:18 says, God cannot lie. And Max Lucado says, just like a rock cannot swim, a hippo cannot fly, a butterfly cannot eat a bowl of spaghetti, you cannot sleep on a cloud, and then God cannot lie either. He never exaggerates, manipulates, fibs, or flatters. He does not break promises. Let me tell you, I love that this book, I don't think you can see it, but with every single promise, there's a little lighthouse, right? God, like anything that they're trying to illuminate in this book, there's a little lighthouse with a light that illuminates. And then at the end, he has verses of God's promises, and then he has questions for you to think and respond. So like he'll say, like one of the questions in the first chapter says, this chapter defined faith as the deeply held belief that God will keep his promises. Right now in your life, is it easy to believe that God will keep his promises, or is it difficult? Why? And then you answer the question. So it's also a journaling book that you can use. And then with every single chapter, there's the lighthouse when he starts a new chapter. And the next chapter is You Can Know God, which is All People Will Know Me, Hebrews 8:11. And then You Are God's Idea. I love that one. You Are God's Idea, which says, let us make human beings in our own image, make them reflecting our nature. Make them reflecting our nature. What that means is that you are God's idea. You're not just an accident. God already knew who you were going to be. He created you with a perfect plan. He created you in his own image. And so when you're out in the environment talking to people and walking, a lot of us are trying to be something that we're not, right? We're trying to imitate the world, but really people should be looking at you instead of you trying to show off what you have, what you wear, whatever. Instead, what is more important is that people see God in you, because at the end of the day, if you believe, you are God's image, you are God breathed, you are God's idea. So if you walk around knowing that you are God's image, all these other things don't matter, right? How you look, how you know, all the trappings of life, the material wealth, the comparisons, all those don't matter. What matters is people seeing the God in you and you being a reflection of the God that you believe in. So otherwise, we're at Barnes & Noble. We are done.
And
That was
closing time.
You have like 25 minutes. So thank you, Shiko, for starting my video. You guys have a terrific day. I kept thinking her t-shirt, when I see her wearing it, I think she's wearing hope
Not today.
hope not today, but it actually says nope, not today. Nope, not today. And guess what, Chico? You want to go to Chipotle and get some food?
Yes.
Nope, not today.
Yes,
Not
today.
today.
Yes, today.
Actually,
The shirt
I'm
does not apply
gonna
to
get
her.
one of the cooking books that says cook at home. Otherwise, y'all take care. You can celebrate National Lighthouse Day that happened yesterday. Just celebrate it today, belated. It's fine. That's what I'm gonna do. And then celebrate National Book Day tomorrow. But I ain't buying no books. I'm gonna make that promise to myself and say, hey, look, first read what you got at home. Go to the book and borrow books. Do what you gotta do and save that money, y'all. All right, take care. Thank you for sitting with me at Barnes & Noble. Have an amazing winning Wednesday, God's Words of Wisdom Wednesday.